Hello and welcome back to the Full 10 Yards Betting Podcast. Another week where the intro doesn't go smoothly for me when I press the buttons on StreamYard, which is always exciting. I am Liam, your host, as always, and I'm joined by my co-host, Adam, aka Mr. Touchdown Tips, who went a whopping 2 of 4 last week, which was good for us in a week where we unfortunately went 4 and 12, but we're hoping this week is a little bit better. How you doing, mate, after a pretty wild week as a fan of the NFL in general last week, to be honest?
Yeah, it was a weird one for me. Obviously, the Bengals bye week, so it was difficult watching. It's always difficult watching Red Zone when your team's not playing. But I found myself getting irrationally annoyed with the amount of flags. It seemed like every time anything happened, there was a flag on it. So I ended up just half watching and doing other stuff. But yeah, obviously some exciting finishes, including obviously the Dallas-Washington game, which was your under 44.5. And they scored 41 points in the fourth quarter. So they nearly did it just in that quarter. It was ridiculous. They'd only scored 19 points in the game before that, and you were nailed on. It was the perfect bet. Everything was sorted. And then, 41 points was just absurd. But, one of 4 for your ones. Obviously, Kareem Hunt didn't find the end zone. And the Steelers lost on the Thursday night, obviously. I said on pod, Thursday night, road teams, don't go for them. But yeah, it was obviously the weather. You can blame the weather, but, we did the pod early last week, and it really killed Tim with his selections. He went for the 49ers win, obviously, before we knew about Brock Purdy being out, before we knew about Trent Williams and Nick Bosa. So he kind of got screwed on that one. And then he went for the 49ers under as well. So, he was shafted from the outset. And here we are on a Wednesday again, trying to do the same thing.
Yeah, we are. Although we do get off lucky a little bit with the 4 games before Sunday, which may or may not help us. We shall see. But yeah, Tim's had either a really good week or weeks where he's either screwed himself or got screwed by injuries. It feels like for his picks, he screwed himself when he just picked every bet that involves some form of Cowboys game is one that seems to really hurt him. But yeah, that was me this week with a kick return, onside kick return, Hail Mary. I couldn't have got any unluckier. I was kind of lucky that I didn't watch the game. So I was out for a birthday meal, so I didn't watch. I decided to record. We'll watch the Chiefs back on DAZN at 10 o'clock, and I didn't check any other scores until after I watched the Chiefs game. When I checked the score, I was like, "Oh God, what a terrible bet!" And then I looked at the points per quarter, where it says like how each score, and I just laughed and went, "Yeah, that is gambling. You've been absolutely hosed there by a crazy game." But we will try and repent and do better than 4 and 12 for this week. And we're going to do our usual category. So game of the week is now day of the week, basically. We're going to go through the Thanksgiving games. We could pick any bet from any of those Thanksgiving 3 games tomorrow night. Then we're going to go through spread of the week, total of the week, and then our usual touchdown scorers as well. So before we do our best bets for games of the week, let's just talk about them, briefly. And we'll go in chronological order. So we've got the Bears at the Lions. The spread's just moved, actually, on Sky Bet. Lions are now favoured by 8.5 points on there. So it's gone down slightly. So maybe there's an injury I'm not sure about. And then in terms of the total on that game, the total is 47.5. Without spoiling any best bets, mate, what's your general feel for that game?
I definitely like the Lions minus 8.5. It's 9.5 on Bet365, down from 10. So yeah, if you're getting the 8.5, that's not too much difference between 8 and 9, but
yeah. 8.5 for 5 to 6 as well. It's not some awful odds either. It's general standard even odds. So it's pretty good.
No, that's good. Yeah, the Lions are the best team in the league. They've been dominating everyone. They've been killing everyone, and I think they'll probably do the same again. Obviously, Jameer Gibbs, David Montgomery. Obviously, Monty went off for a little bit of time last week, but he came back and finished the game, so I assume he's okay to go. Amon-Ra St. Brown didn't score. He's done 8 games in a row before last week. So I wouldn't be surprised if he pops up again. I annoyingly had a nice bet on Alec Pierce and Jameson Williams both to have a 30-yard reception. About 9-1, and Jameson only hit 21 on his longest. So I was a bit gutted by that one last week. But I wouldn't be surprised if he pops up with a 50-yarder. He does every now and then. But my only worry is the Bears' defense is very good. So I do think they're going to be able to limit the Lions to an extent. I just also think that the Lions' defense is good enough to stop Caleb Williams. And he didn't look great last week until the last probably 5 minutes of the game, where obviously pulled out the bag and they went for overtime. So I do think the Lions win that one, and I would be leaning under the 48, to be honest. 5:30 kickoff over here in the UK, so I'll be hopefully at the pub by then and settling in to watch at least that one, and then, I mean, no one's really going to watch the second one, so definitely that one, and then I'll be drinking.
Yeah, I got screwed with the second game this year with the injuries, to be honest. It would have been better with a normal Cowboys team, but yeah, in terms of that game, yeah, I would go Lions against the spread if I was picking the spread. I think I actually would probably go over, because I do think Caleb's played a little bit better recently, and the Lions have got a few injuries on defense, which might impact things, but I do agree with you, the Bears have got a good defense. The Lions might end up running the ball and kind of making the game go too quick, and there's not many points, but I do think Caleb's playing quite well out of structure, and I think if it gets down 14-0, I think then that'll actually help the over, because I think he'll then have to throw it around a lot. But yeah, we'll see. I'm hoping that's a fun game. We kind of need the early game on a Thanksgiving slate to be good, I think, for UK audiences to stay up and to try and watch the other ones. But yeah, we'll see how it looks. The next game then, Giants at Cowboys. Very different total in this one, 37.5, which is hilarious total. And the Cowboys are favoured by 3.5 points at home. Drew Lock will be the starter for the Giants, a quarterback, it looks like, after Tommy DeVito got hurt. Cooper Rush is still the starter for the Cowboys after he screwed me last week with my under. In terms of this game, I actually would stay away from the total, because I feel like two bad quarterbacks, two bad teams. The games are either going to be 9-6 or they're going to be 30-27, and it's going to just be a completely weird game. So I personally would probably be staying away from the total, and I don't know why. I would probably go Giants plus 3.5 if I had to pick a spread. I think Tommy DeVito's only put in to deliberately lose. I think Drew Lock is better, and I think with Tyron Tracy they can run the ball quite well. And yeah, I don't know, two bad teams, but I do fancy the Giants with the plus points if I had to pick a side.
Yeah, I'm definitely on the Giants now that they've got Drew Lock under centre. I think that's definitely a lot better situation with the quarterback, and I think Malik Neighbours would be the one I'd be looking at, because obviously he complained last week about the lack of targets, especially in the first half. So yeah, I like him to get a fair bit of the ball. And the Cowboys, like Cooper Rush, at least has been putting up yardage. He had 350 odd the week before. He had 260-ish this week. So they've at least been moving the ball. So I do like the over as well. I think I'd be going Giants and over on that one, especially because I don't think the Cowboys have won a game at home this season.
No, they've been awful at home. I guess their benefit is it's still actually 9:30, so there might be an our time. So there might be some light coming through that dodgy window that everyone's talking about at their stadium as well. But yeah, their home record has been absolutely awful. I do feel like if they lose a home game on Thanksgiving to this team, Jerry's just going to go absolutely nuts.
It would be hilarious.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes in Jerry's world. And then on to the best game, or what I think is the best game of that slate. Dolphins at Packers. Both teams in very good form at the moment. Dolphins definitely giving themselves a chance to maybe be that team that tries to catch the Broncos for the 7 seed. They played some bad teams recently, so this will be a good test. The Packers also playing really well. They can catch the Lions, but I think they just want to make sure they've got a good seed in the NFC. Give themselves a chance to play the Falcons or someone on the road, which is a pretty good playoff game, to be honest, if you're Green Bay. But yeah, Green Bay favoured at home by 3.5 points. I was just told on another podcast, snow showers is the expected weather, which did change my opinion a little bit on how the game might look, mate. What's your general thoughts on this game? I know me and you are very similar on the Dolphins. Total's 47.5 as well.
Yeah, obviously without knowing weather, I probably would be leaning the over. But yeah, if the Dolphins go into the frozen tundra, that's always a worry. So I guess I'd be leaning the Packers. The Packers have just been kind of workmanlike this year. They're getting jobs done, they're getting the wins, and without looking too exciting, obviously they destroyed the 49ers last week, but it's kind of a write-off game with Brandon Allen under center. It doesn't really count. But yeah, they're not going to win the division. They're not going to catch Lions. They will be, however, probably second or third seed. Oh, sorry, obviously not second or third, fifth or sixth seed in the playoffs. So yeah, as you say, if they can get the tie against the Falcons, that is the one you want. So they need to keep on winning. Josh Jacobs has been great. Romeo Dobbs is missing this one because of concussion. So it'll be Dontavian Wicks probably getting the bump up there behind Watson and Reed. And then, the Dolphins. I'd said last week that I think the Dolphins are going to kill someone, and they did. They smashed the Patriots. They completely dominated that game. Do I think they can do that here? I'm not sure. Obviously, Tua in cold weather. I think Tua in Sub-Zero has got a horrible kind of record on his side of things. So I'd definitely be leaning Packers and probably the under due to that.
Yeah, exactly. I keep an eye on that weather. If that is going to be what it's going to be, I would go under. I think for tomorrow. Obviously, we're only a day away from the game, so the report should be relatively accurate. But tomorrow, if people are going to bet it, I do think the under there. But you just want to get it before they lower the total. Once the weather's confirmed and it's a certain level, bookies will just drop that total by a few points. So, I think that could be the under. Cool. Before we go to best bets, I had one other one that I wanted to mention that involves these games. So, if you tease, which we don't really talk about very often, the Packers you can tease up to 4.5. Lions can be teased down to 1.5, and the Chiefs can be teased down to 4 as well on Friday. That gets you to evens. So I don't mind that because I do feel like I like the Packers with points added. Lions, I would be surprised if they lost to the Bears. And the Chiefs always win by one score, but 4 points is in one score. So I quite like that as a treble. I don't normally suggest teaser trebles on the pod, but I think when it comes to Thanksgiving, I kind of like something to root for across the day. So I quite like that.
Where's the Chiefs line that you're getting?
4.5 is 1 to 4 on.
Okay. So not typically a teaser. It's just alt lines. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all alt lines on Sky. They try and get it under 5, so they don't always do the full 6. But I think Unibet sometimes do it, but it's not there at the moment. But I would be happy with it at 6.5 or better odds if I could get it, but can't get it anyway yet. More
fair enough. Yeah, obviously, like a standard teaser, I'd be teasing the Lions down to, it'd be 3.5, so you don't really want to do. Probably have to do a 7-point teaser. I'd probably do Lions down, Giants up, and I'd probably go to Dolphins plus 10 as well, because I do think the Packers are the better team there, but I think keeping it within 10. Pardon?
Yeah. Keep it close makes sense, I think, doesn't it, in that game?
Yeah, and then I wouldn't be going near the Chiefs game because the Chiefs don't win games by margin, so it's one I'm staying away from.
Yeah, that's very fair. Very fair. Cool. Let's move to our best bets then across those games. We'll start with Tim's, which is the Packers and the Dolphins to score 20 points each, which is 11 to 10. Adam informed me when we looked, which surprised us because we felt like those odds were too short for that bet. I don't always want us to pick against him when we read our sheets, but it gives us no context, like we said. And I think, especially with the weather, I would be worried about 20-plus points, both these two teams. But if it wasn't a weather game, I could understand his point of view because they've scored a lot of points between them in the last couple of weeks. Both offenses are in the top 7 in most statistical categories over the last 4 games. I understand that, but I'm a bit worried about the weather. And I just don't want to bet something at 11 to 10 that needs 20 points for each team. But that's Tim's pick. Any thoughts on that selection?
Yeah, you kind of summed it up really. I mean, you can still get the under, I suppose, and both of them score 20.
Yeah, sure.
So I guess we can all be right. I was just trying to see if I can find it. I mean it's 10 to 11 on Bet365, 11 to 10 on Sky Bet. So their boost is just to take it through evens. But not one I'll be betting, unfortunately, Tim.
I definitely wouldn't be betting it under evens either for the original price. No. That is a no go for me. What's your best bet? Because I laughed when I saw yours. It's just not a name I've ever seen on our sheet in my life. So.
It's not a name you're going to see on many betting sheets. No, it's Jonathan Mingo to have over 6.5 receiving yards. I was between they've got 3 players all on 6.5 this week. They got Mingo, they got Brooks, and they had someone else. So basically, it's one of them to make a catch because they should go over that on one catch. And then Kevontae Turpin is over 6.5 as well, who obviously is the speedster, obviously the kick returner. But Mingo, he had the highest snap share out of these 3 last week. Obviously new to the team, they traded for him, so I figure they're going to try and at least give him a pass or 2. And while the Giants' defense is decent enough, it gets after the quarterback. As I say, I think it's one catch probably, so I went for that. It has now ticked up to 7.5, so obviously Bet365 knew I was going to mention it on this podcast and thought, oh, we don't want that. But yeah, even then, I will still take it over 7.5 yards for Jonathan Mingo.
Yeah, that is a fun bet. If you watch any of that game, you're going to be living and dying by every throw to see which direction it goes in.
I mean, it's going to be a Mingin game, so why not go for Mingo?
Exactly. Couldn't have said it better myself. And then final pick for Thanksgiving is I'm going for the same game as Tim. I'm going for the Packers-Dolphins game, and I'm going for the alt line of Packers -1.5. They were 2.5, I believe, a couple of days ago, and I would have loved to have taken 2.5 at slightly better odds, but at 3.5, I'm just worried about the hook. So I brought it down to 1.5 for 8 to 13. Again, if you can find a 2.5 out there or a 2 that's better odds than 8 to 13, then do it. I've already mentioned the weather. I really like the Packers all year. I'm not as high on the Dolphins, even though they played well, but in that weather, that does worry me. But the Packers can run the ball well at home. Jacobs is playing extremely well. I think it'll be a close game regardless, but I do fancy the Packers to win the game. So, yeah, I think that's why I like that spread. Any thoughts on that one, mate?
No, as I say, I think the Packers are they're the team I would pick to win the game. So, yeah, you're basically getting it's basically just slightly better odds on the money line than the money line. Yeah,
cool. Okay, if anyone watching that, I'll put our Thanksgiving bets with the nice graphics from Adam there for tomorrow. So Tim again, both teams in the Miami Green Bay game scored 20 plus points. I've gone for the same game, Packers -1.5 at 8 to 13, but would still take it up to 2.5. And then Adam's gone for Jonathan Mingo over 6.5 receiving yards if you can get it, even if you have to go for 7.5. Adam's confident that Mingo will win everyone some money. So there we go. That's our Thanksgiving bets. We're hoping for some good games. That would be nice for us in the UK. Let's move over to spread of the week then. And for anyone watching, we've got the spreads going across the bottom of the ticker. Why don't you start us off, mate, and give us your best spread of week 13?
Yeah, I've gone for the Colts -3 at the Patriots. Just think the Colts are the better team there. They annoyingly, they've struggled to get Jonathan Taylor going with Anthony Richardson recently. He's been kind of killing me in fantasy with his 2.5 points a week. But their run game is very good, and the Pats defense is not very good this year. Obviously, Anthony Richardson looks like he can actually throw the ball to his own team now. He did all right last week against the Lions. They kept in the game for a lot of it without kind of challenging. It never looked like they were going to win that one, but they did all right. And then you got the deep shots, obviously, to Anthony Pierce. Pittman should be fine. I know he left the game halfway through, but he came back again. And Josh Downs is a good running back as well, as a good wide receiver as well. The Colts defense is good enough. They will get after the Patriots. And I just think the Colts are the better team there. And with it only being 3 points, I was happy with that. The Pats have Drake May's definitely better. He's had sparks, but they don't seem to be consistent enough. And again, another fantasy running back that I've got in many leagues, Ramondre Stevenson, is doing very little because they're getting so far behind he can't do anything.
Yeah, agreed. I think the teams are quite different in talent, aren't they? So the risk is if Drake May has a really, really good game, but the rest of the teams, the Colts are much better than the Patriots. The Patriots defense has been really disappointing, to be honest, all season long. So I think this is a good shout. And I think one thing the Colts will do is they'll stick to their game plan and run the ball a lot, which helps. You don't want 30 passes from Richardson. So I think this game, I think this is a good pick. It was on one of my short lists because there were many picks I liked this week, which was a bit of a worry with how last week went. But yeah, we'll save Tim's till last, and because he's picked the best game, and I'll go for my spread next. So I've gone for the Seahawks. Again, was -1.5. It's just changed to 2.5 at the New York Jets. But yeah, I'd still take it at 2.5. But if you can get 1.5 somewhere else than other than Sky, then do it. Similar reasoning, to be honest. I think the Seahawks are just a better team. The Jets are talented on paper, but in terms of how they're playing, they're not. Aaron Rodgers is very injured. There's weird discussions about him playing for another team, not liking the owner. Typical Aaron Rodgers stories. And I think the Seahawks, to be honest, played quite well all season on offense. And then I think the defense over the last couple of weeks has really picked it up. They were very good last week. They managed to hold the Cardinals' run game, which has been really good all season, to awful efficiency. So I think, to be honest, the Seahawks defense starting to get that scheme that's come over from the Ravens. And I think Geno's playing really well. DK Metcalf looks like he's going to play. When he plays, the Seahawks are normally good. So, I think I'll just take them against the better team. Even though I appreciate the Jets have to win for any chance of anything, I think they're already out of it. So I'm going to go for the Seahawks.
Yeah, I took them last week against the Cardinals. I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting their defense to be quite that good. But obviously they locked down the running game that had been killing everyone. And they did enough on offense. Geno was up and down all game. I think he was confused a lot. The Cardinals defense threw a lot at him. But he did it in the end. He found Jackson Smith-Njigba again, the player who's kind of emerging this year. He seems to be the most reliable guy they've got now, and he should be the one going forward because he's been doing very well for them. So, yeah, I do think, obviously with the unknowns at quarterback for the Jets, I know you mentioned injuries for Rodgers. I don't believe anything Rodgers says, so I wouldn't be surprised if he isn't. He's just having a paddy, and they've decided to then just give him the rest of the season off, and hopefully he'll be gone forever in the off season. But it does sound like he wants to play for someone. I don't know who would want to get him, but probably the Cowboys. I'm sure they'll probably pay up for him. But yeah, it's definitely the side I'd be on. And as I just put on the screen, Seahawks -1.5 is 9-10 at Paddy Power, so they've kept that line for now.
Nice. That's really good. I really like that bet. And you're right. We'll see what happens with Rodgers next year. I'm sure he'll end up somewhere.
He will.
Last kind of best spread of the week is the game that probably would have been game of the week if we wouldn't have had Thanksgiving. And Tim has gone for the Eagles +3.5 against the Ravens. I think that's 9:25 on Sunday, so it's your Sky game as well. Really important big game of the week. Personally, really excited to sit down and watch this. Two very physical teams that both do love to run the ball. But yeah, I think this game should be quite good in terms of Tim's logic. Again, the Eagles are playing really well. They're probably the second best team in the NFC. They're getting 3.5 points. I think Hurts is playing really well. Obviously, AJ Brown and Saquon Barkley are really playing well, especially Saquon. And then from a Ravens perspective, the offense wasn't as good last week at passing the ball. That's taken a step back. And the defense has been the worst passing defense, or second worst now, passing defense in the NFL all year. So I could see why you think that Tim thinks the Eagles are going to cover that spread. So yeah, I'd probably go on his side if I had to pick a spread in this game. What about you? What are your thoughts on that one?
I'd definitely be on Tim's side of it as well. Especially getting points. I do think, as you say, they are definitely the second best team in the NFC and possibly the league. They're more rounded than a lot of other teams. The defense has stepped up. Quinyon Mitchell is obviously getting talk of Defensive Rookie of the Year. Barkley, there's talk of MVP, but I think that's just stupid. But he has been incredibly good. Definitely won't be denying that. So yeah, they've added an elite running game to a fairly decent passing offense, although it is limited now with Devonta Smith out. It is a lot of AJ Brown and then not much behind him, which might hurt them against a pass funnel defense. But Saquon's been doing it all, so I would definitely not go against him. I would definitely be leaning to the Eagles getting the points in that one.
Yeah, I've been leaning to him for some receptions and receiving yards as well on the backfield, because he's like can turn a 5-yard dump off pass to like 30 yards and you've won your bet in a couple of plays. So yeah, I do like that. That element, especially with Devonta Smith out, they're going to have to throw it to him a little bit more. And Jalen Hurts as well has been scrambling and running around a lot, so I quite like his overs for rushing yards as well in that game. And by the way, if anyone who's betting on Offensive Player of the Year, this game could decide it. Derrick Henry versus Saquon Barkley. I think they're the two favourites for the award, aren't they? So it feels like this is a big game if anyone's got any money riding on that award. Cool. Any other spreads you like? Like I mentioned earlier, there's a couple I like, but was there any that you liked?
No, I struggled a bit. I looked at 49ers +7, just because they need that game like blood. They cannot afford to lose that game at the Bills. And the Bills, they're coming off a big win last week. I just think no, it wasn't last week. They're coming off their bye, aren't they? It was the week before. So yeah, ignore that bit then. The 49ers, they're just desperate for that game, so I thought +7 give him a touchdown. But then there's no news really on Purdy. So obviously, without knowing that, I'm not going to go near that one. Rams -2.5. I know is one that you will mention. It was -3. It's now just dropped under the 3. So that's one I definitely do like now. That's one I'd probably be going with. And that was about it. I did consider Steelers +2.5, but obviously it's me being a pessimist. I think the Bengals in recent years seem to have figured out how to play the Steelers. They've got a lot better against them. They're at home. They desperately need the game. And the Steelers just aren't as good as their record, whereas the Bengals are probably better than their record. But I thought the spread was it was bang on, to be honest. It was around 3, and I think that's probably where it should be.
Yeah, I'll be staying away from that game. Can't get either of those teams right all year for betting various reasons. So, I'll stay away from that one. But I do think the line is probably where it should be. Rams 2.5 against the Saints for me is just is a definite one. And the Buccaneers last week, we both liked them against the Giants. I think that was 5.5 as well. And now they're on the road to the Panthers, arguably the next worst team in the NFC. And it's still 5.5. And I actually like the Bucs again, to be honest, against the Panthers at 5.5. It's a divisional game. Teams know each other well. I don't think Bryce Young will have as much success as he did last week, but I just think the Bucs offense is playing really well. So I think that'll be another one. And then Cardinals +2.5 is a sneaky one. They played well every time. A game where they're the underdogs. They played really well. It's the games they're favoured where they're struggling. And the Vikings, again, Darnold played good in overtime last week, but the 2 weeks before that, he wasn't very good. So I think having Kyler Murray, the better quarterback, +3.5, I quite like. But I definitely prefer the Rams, Eagles, and Seahawks picks than that one, for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's move on to totals then. So again, totals for anyone watching are moving along the bottom of the screen. Which one should we start with? Should we go for you first? I think you've arguably got the maybe the best game.
We'll go with mine first. Yeah, again, as I say, like I've just alluded to it, the 49ers need this game like blood. They will be better this week, and if they're not better, then they've got a chance of giving up defensive scores. So I've gone for over 44.5 in San Francisco against the Bills. I thought that was a fairly low line for potentially high-scoring offenses. Obviously, getting Purdy back would be incredibly useful in that one. I think the line will probably jump up a couple if he is in. And from the reports I read earlier, he was throwing Monday, Tuesday, then he had a day off, and his scans have come back fine. So we'll see what happens with that one. But yeah, I think they can score points. I think the Bills can score points. And as I say, if the 49ers don't score points, then they'll give up the ball, and the Bills will have short fields or get defensive scores. So yeah, I thought 44.5 was a low total on that one.
Yeah, definitely. I think if Purdy gets confirmed as playing, that number will go up as well. So I think you're getting in the right position if there's a chance he plays, which it seems like he will. So yeah, desperate need. And to be honest, the Bills as well, like they don't desperately need the game, but they want to be the 1 seed, right? You probably can't afford to lose. You know, if the Chiefs do win before them on Friday, they can't afford to lose that game. So I think the Bills are going to be quite aggressive to try and score points as well. So yeah. I do really like that one. Tim's game is also a really good game compared to one I picked. And he's gone for the game we just mentioned earlier, the Bengals v Steelers. I was surprised the line was as high as this, but he's gone for over 48 in that game. Pittsburgh offense is better than it's been in previous years. And, George Pickens can easily turn 2 catches into 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then the Bengals offense is playing extremely well, can put up points against anyone. And the Steelers have got a good defense, but I do trust the Bengals to be able to score some points in that game. But AFC North, mate, is normally quite tight. It feels like they're either super high scoring or low scoring. What are your thoughts on that total, since you know these 2 teams better than us?
Yeah, I'd be leaning under on that one, to be honest. Obviously, bye week and the second half against the Chargers last game, Bengals defense stepped up. I'm hoping they might have figured something out. I'm not overly confident that they have, but I'm hoping they have. I think they should be able to restrict the Steelers to an extent. And then the Steelers defense obviously is very good. There's been some video I saw this week of how to slow TJ Watt, and it was chipping him and then using your tackle to finish off the job. Whether the Bengals offensive coaching will be paying attention to that and figure it out, I don't know. TJ Watt always has a sack against us, as does Myles Garrett, and as does, most of the Ravens defense. So I wouldn't be entirely surprised if they do manage to shut down the Bengals to an extent. So I'd be leaning under, unfortunately, Tim. We do seem to be going against most of your stuff today, but yeah, that'll be my go on that one.
Yeah, I think for this to be a likelihood, I think the Steelers need to come out and start fast on offense, and then it forces Bengals to throw it, be aggressive. Joe Burrow could have one of those 400-yard games where it's 33-30. But yeah, if it comes out and it's punt, or field goal, punt, turnover, and the Steelers defense start getting on top and the offense is being really slow, then that's going to be a struggle. So yeah, I think if you back the over on this game, I think you want the Steelers to come out fast and make the Bengals then throw it for the rest of the game.
Yeah. And as you said, Pickens can take it to the house from anywhere, and he did against the Bengals last year. I think he had 2 50-yard plus touchdowns against us. So it's definitely got legs, but yeah, I'd be leaning the other way.
Yeah, him and Jamar Chase are both liable to turn a 20-yard pass to a 50-yard one. So hopefully it'll be a fun game. Both teams need to win for different reasons. So we'll see. I picked a worse game that before the season looked good, but has not transpired to be very good. I've gone for the over 43.5 in the Texans-Jags game. I didn't want to pick the spread in this one, but it looks like Trevor Lawrence is going to be back. Keep banging on about how well he's played the last 3 or 4 starts he's had, even though the rest of the team have been crap. So I don't think the defense is good. So I think CJ Stroud will be able to score points. They had a terrible loss against the Titans last week, but they still scored points. And I expect them to do that again with Nico Collins back. Joe Mixon looks like he'll play as well. So I think the Texans will score their points. And I do think, even though the Texans defense has been good all year, it wasn't very good down the field last year. And one thing Trevor Lawrence likes to do is chuck the ball down the field. So I think with these two quarterbacks, the total should be more in the 47, 48 range. So I'm going to go over. AFC South is always a bit of a weird one, and I think this could be a bit of a high-scoring game. I do think the Texans win, but I do think Trevor Lawrence can keep it close and put some points up. So yeah, I've gone over 43.5 on that one.
Yeah, that's the way I'd lean on that one. As you say, it's a low total. I think 48 would be where I would expect that. Maybe they're not expecting Trevor Lawrence back, and that's why it's lower, because if Mac Jones is in there, you're probably only getting 10 to 17 from them. So then you need the Texans. The Texans seem to be playing to their opponents this year. They've not really been blowing anyone out, but I wouldn't be surprised if they get to 25-30 and then the Jags come back, because again, that seems to be what Lawrence has been doing. He's been playing well, but it does seem like it's normally at the later in the games where he seems to be kind of unleashing a bit.
Yeah, if Mac Jones is playing, I'm struggling for this over. So
yeah.
I need Trevor Lawrence to be confirmed. He did take starters reps yesterday, so I'm hoping that carries on. But we'll see. Logically, it makes sense for them not to play him with a contract and how bad their season is. But NFL coaches need to keep their jobs, so I'm hoping that he starts. Cool. Were there any other totals apart from the ones we've already mentioned that you liked or not? Because I'd say I did struggle a little bit with totals personally this week for me.
No, obviously I mentioned Giants Cowboys on Thursday. I think over 37 is a decent one on that one with Drew Lock playing. Other than that, there wasn't a huge amount. Chargers Falcons is one I was interested in, but I can't figure it out. The Falcons are so hit and miss that game could be 60 points, it could be 30 if Cousins does nothing. The line's 48 on it, so yeah, that was one I wanted to be somewhere on, but I just can't do it. I feel like it should be over, but yeah, it's just too unpredictable. Bucks and Panthers is probably an over as well, just because the Bucks we saw last week, they can run up yards and they can do very well. And then the Panthers showed some life. I thought Bryce Young had the best game of his career last week, frankly. So I think over 46.5 there is probably one I'd look at as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout. I quite like the Cardinals, the 44.5 Cardinals Vikings, to be honest. But it's just one where it's like the Cardinals are all over the place if you bet on them. They're so week to week. They're one of those week to week teams, it feels like, in the NFL. But I thought 44.5 was low in general. If you take last week out, how well their offense has played. And the Vikings, the Cardinals defense is bad. So I think the Vikings will score points regardless of who's playing quarterback. So I think 44.5 is okay in that one. But apart from that, there wasn't many. I wouldn't hate 41.5 if Rodgers played for the Jets, but I'm not going to have that total and pick the Seahawks because I just feel like it's too risky in that game for that. So yeah, I did find 48.5 Saints Rams. I'd be like so tempted to go under in that game, but I just it's Saints are a difficult one to call. With that quarterback. So yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. That's it then. Let's move on to touchdown scorers. And as you said earlier, we've gone a bit riskier with the odds with some of these selections. I'll start us off on this one. I've gone back to the well. I've gone for Friday night's game. I've gone for DeAndre Hopkins 9-4. Isaiah Pacheco was just announced as he's going to play. So him and Kareem Hunt are both 5-6. The bookies have decided to just lump them in at both rubbish odds. So yeah, that meant Hopkins odds were better than they were last week. So I think Hopkins at 9-4. I think he scored a touchdown last time these two teams played.
He did.
Yeah, he played well last week as well. When he was on the field, that's a separate issue. Don't know why Andy Reid doesn't put him on the field, but there we go. And he scored a touchdown again last week. Travis Kelce still gets doubled in the red zone every time, so I think Hopkins is a good shout. Again, if this is a terrible game and there's 27 points, it's risky, but I think as the Chiefs often do, they'll score in that 23 to 27 range themselves. And I think Hopkins will score a touchdown. So yeah, 9-4. I think you said the best bet was, which I quite like the odds at 9-4.
Yeah, Betfred, I think it was 9-4. Yeah, last week was a frustrating one because I recommended him on my column on my post, and that he just never seemed to be on the pitch. And then the touchdown he did get was on a scramble drill, which is good because it shows he's got a connection with Mahomes, and obviously he's one of the best receivers in the league, so he's going to get open if you give him time, and he did. So yeah, I think that was definitely a boost for them. But yeah, it would be nice to see him on the pitch a little bit more because every red zone, it didn't seem like he was on it at all. It'd be interesting to see what Noah Gray is, obviously, after 4 touchdowns in 2 weeks. I'd imagine probably down at 4-1-ish now.
And I tipped him up so many times last season as well for our random, which we've kind of gone away from our random tight end of the week. But yeah, he was up there. I can see him at 10-3. So not as bad, do you think?
Yeah, still a tad shorter than I'd want. As I say, I think 4-1 I might be telling him, and I appreciate he's obviously had 4 in 2 games, but that surely can't continue.
Who knows? We'll see. I would doubt it. Let's go for Carson Steele 17-2. The other 2 running backs are back. Carson Steele has a random 1-yard goal line run. That is an actual selection, by the way. No one better Carson Steele. Andre Hopkins. Cool. Let's go to yours then, because I was surprised by yours, even though the player did actually play well against my team last week. I wasn't expecting you to.
Yeah. Who led red zone targets for the across the whole league last week? It was David Moore for the Carolina Panthers. It seemed like every time they got in the red zone or in the 10 yards, they were throwing the ball to him. And obviously, fair enough, that was against a very good run defense. But the Bucs' run defense is very good as well. So I do think if they get down there, they'll be throwing the ball again. And you can get 9-2 on David Moore. He's a player who was always close to my heart after my 500-1 bet on him 4 or 5 years ago now, a long time ago now. But he's always one I keep an eye out for. And yeah, when I saw him getting so many looks last week, I thought, right, I need to do something this week. So yeah, 9-2 on him I thought was fairly decent.
Yeah, it seems to have a good connection with Bryce Young as well, whether that's from when Bryce Young was on the bench and obviously in practice maybe he was throwing to David Moore instead of Adam Thielen and Leggett. But yeah, he played really well and made 2 really hard catches. He made 2 where he's wide open as well, so it proves he can get open if he needs to still, because he's a bit of an older player now. But yeah, 9-2. I wonder what he'd been last week. He must have been like 13-2 or something last week.
Yeah, he would have been pretty high. So yeah, annoyingly, obviously, I say annoyingly. Obviously, I wasn't going to bet him against the Chiefs, but yeah, he would have been fairly decent odds, I'd imagine.
And who are they playing again this week?
The Bucs. And the Bucs, as I say, Bucs run defense with Vita Vea and Kalijah Kancey in the middle is pretty darn good, but their pass defense is a weaker spot. So I do think if they get down there, and then obviously you won't have Jatavian Sanders this week, who's been improving. He's out with a neck injury after he landed on his head last week. So I think they're obviously a little more limited in the red zone targets. And as I say, like he had 4 red zone targets last week. He only caught 1, but that was the touchdown. And he was very close to catching 1 or 2 others because they were all contested catches, but he showed eventually he could do it. It was just, it was promising for him. Him and Jacoby Myers, by the way, both had 4 red zone targets.
Yeah, you just need 1. Again, back to what you said, 1 red zone reception is fine. That'll get win you this bet. That's all you need. for David Moore. Cool. Let's end it with Tim's pick then, because I feel like we've been harsh on Tim's pick, so I actually agree with this one. So let's end with this one. AJ Brown, anytime touchdown, 6-4 for the Eagles against the Ravens. Said it earlier, they've been one of the worst. Well, they were the worst passing defense. I think they're second worst now in the NFL. For the Ravens, the Eagles have really not got many people to throw to. AJ Brown always gets the ball. He always gets the ball in the red zone. He always gets the ball down the field as well. And again, yeah, if it feels like if it's not Saquon Barkley scoring a touchdown for the Eagles, it feels like it's AJ Brown. So I do think that's a really good shout. I think it'll be a high-scoring game, and he's the Eagles' probably key weapon on passing down. So yeah, I think it's a good shout from Tim. What do you think?
Yeah, 6-4. I thought was quite high for him. I was expecting him to be around 21-20 kind of level. So yeah, I definitely think that was pretty good. He had one red zone target last week. He caught it for a touchdown. So it's difficult with the Eagles because obviously if it's within 2 yards, it's not going to be a pass. So you do need them to be 18-2 basically in that kind of area, and then you'll get an AJ Brown or maybe a Dallas Goedert. But as I say, and obviously AJ Brown can take it in from anywhere as well. He's got that ability. So yeah, it's 6-4. I'm quite happy with that one.
Yeah, I do. Quite funny. We've gone for like two of the most famous receivers in the NFL: AJ Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, and David Moore, just sandwiched in between. And he'll probably be the only one
famous in my life.
Yeah, exactly. Famous in your heart. That's all that matters.
Yeah, and he's probably like the third or fourth best Moore in the league as well. He's even in the Moore rankings. He's down there behind DJ, probably behind Elijah Moore, not Sky Moore, obviously, but
he's 100% ahead of Sky Moore. I can guarantee you that.
yeah, he definitely
I've got a Sky Moore jersey behind me that I can't sell for a tenner, let alone David Moore would get more than that. So there we go. Cool. Let's go over our best bets then again on the screen. So for spreads, Tim's gone for the Eagles plus 3.5. I've gone for the Seahawks minus 1.5, and then Adam's gone for the Colts minus 3. Totals, Tim's gone over 48 in the Bengals-Steelers game. I've gone for over 43.5 in the Texans-Jags game. And then Adam's gone for over 44.5 in the Bills-49ers game. So we've all gone overs there, which is a worry. And then touchdown scorers, again, AJ Brown 6-4 for Tim. I've gone for Hopkins at 9-4 for the Chiefs on Friday night. And then Adam's gone for D Moore, which means if DJ Moore scores a touchdown, he can somehow still claim for this. But it is David Moore at 9-2 for the Panthers on Sunday. So yeah, some good bets there in theory. Hopefully we finish better than 4-12, 4 out of 12. But thanks everyone for listening. Please remember to go follow us at Full10Yards as well on Twitter/X. Make sure you follow Adam as well at Touchdown Tips. Have you got a column going out for Thanksgiving, or is it just for Sunday?
It depends how much I get done tonight. I do intend to do something tonight for it, but that will depend on family and whether I'm going to get moaned at for being on a laptop or not. So yeah, as I say, I'm out from first game tomorrow, so I won't have time tomorrow. So yeah, fingers crossed I'll be able to get something out tonight, but we'll see.
Cool. TBC. If not, I'm sure there'll be some winners on Sunday. Some David Moore related winners coming from Adam on Sunday. If you ever do listen to us from the other part of over the pond, then happy Thanksgiving for Thursday. Hope everyone in the UK enjoys those games. And then, yeah, please remember to gamble responsibly and try and win some cash, as Tim would say. We'll be back next week. Speak to you soon.